Hello beautiful people, I'm RaishPhoenix, and in today's video we're going to be doing a mukbang. If you haven't already, go ahead and click the subscribe button and click the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. Alright, so I wasn't really going to do a mukbang at first. I got hungry, started thinking about something I wanted to film, and I said, hey, why not? And also I'm wearing a hood because I'm having a little bit of you know when you have like an insecure day and you're like, I don't know if I'm feeling it today. Like I want to film, but I don't know if I'm feeling the way I'm looking. Yeah, so I'm serving a little bit of like a Green Goblin moment, but yeah, we're gonna power through it. So today, I'm gonna try to show what I'm eating. So it's beef, carrots, curry chicken, brown rice, and beans. And then over here I have some green tea with honey and molasses. I know the molasses probably sounds weird, but it's one of those little nice moments to like sweeten your tea but also get like the iron you need, so that's why it's in there. In this video, I want to talk about people and the people we surround ourselves with and grow up with. Pretty much like my experience with what I'm noticing now, how it's affected my ability to interact with others, and yeah. So lately I've been really noticing how much, how do I word this? First off, let me just start with saying like how much I've come to realize how how my interactions, and I'm talking from my perspective because I know it's not going to be the same for everyone. So this is more so like what I'm noticing, and if you relate, you relate. So what I'm noticing is the type of relationships I've had with parents, siblings, other family members, other friends growing up has definitely set the groundwork for what I perceive the world to be like. In terms of like, let's say, if you grow up with your mother constantly telling you it's disgusting if you don't make your bed in the morning, and it's like a horrible trait, then eventually that becomes like your groundwork for thinking if somebody calls you disgusting or nasty years later when you're grown up, you may think that it's referring to you making your bed in the morning, but it can mean so many other things. I know that's kind of like I don't know, like a weird example or whatever, but that's kind of what I mean. Like the people who you grow up with become the voice of how you perceive others in the world will perceive you. And with that being said, I've noticed that I have difficulty, so it's like on camera or when I'm filming these videos for you guys, it's very easy for me to express how I'm feeling because literally this entire year I put the work in to understand my feelings. I know for a fact a lot of me growing up and being who I am in this world, I've kind of gone with the flow. I kind of did what seemed right for the moment, but I don't think I took enough time or enough pauses in between to really understand how I felt and to be able to clearly communicate to people that emotion. So now I have that understanding of how to communicate clearly, especially through these videos. I've gotten very good at expressing my emotions, and now I'm getting to a point where I'm slowly starting to learn how to communicate it to others, because it's easy to have these moments where you express your emotions, but there are some people who are receptive to it, and then there's some people who aren't, and there's a possibility that you may communicate as clearly as possible what you mean, but sometimes someone's inability to understand you is just because they're not in a space of wanting to understand. It may be that it just doesn't make sense to them, you know? And just because something doesn't make sense to someone doesn't mean that it's bad, like you have a bad way of expressing yourself. It just sometimes means they're not in a space in their life where they even understand the emotional things you're going through, or even the way you're expressing yourself emotionally, because sometimes even they don't even know how to express themselves to that extent emotionally. So kind of bringing it back to what I was saying about your upbringing or my upbringing and how it's affected my ability to communicate to others my emotions, I've become highly aware of the fact that growing up, I was disciplined, but I was disciplined in a way that was less about how I felt and more about what needed to be done. So let's say, I don't know, let's say like a stereotypical situation. Let's say I wet the bed, like when I was a little kid, right? I would get beaten for wetting my bed, but as a little kid, I didn't know how to control it. Like, I didn't know why I was wetting the bed. I didn't know what happened. It was kind of just like I woke up, the bed was wet. I don't know what happened, right? So, from getting beat for every time that I wet the bed, I wasn't given a space to have an emotional reaction. I wasn't given a space to even kind of dissect or understand what my body was doing. Like, why was I wetting the bed when I was young? Why? Like, I had no space for emotion, and instead it was kind of like beaten out of me to not wet the bed anymore. And then eventually through trial and error, I understood, okay, like if I drink water at this time, I know that I'm not going to wake up to use the bathroom, and that's why I wet the bed. So I have to stop drinking water at this time, and I'll be fine throughout the night. Another situation that I can think of is, the example I'm about to give is kind of like a generalized idea. I can't really remember if it played out this way, but let's say if I do chores on a Saturday and I end up oversleeping and I don't have the chores done by a certain time. Let's say I overslept because I was tired from school the previous day or from homework. If I didn't get up earlier the next day to get all the chores done by a certain time, it's like I get yelled at. I get disciplined in a way that is negating my emotions. It's like it's not taken into consideration why I ended up oversleeping. It's not taken into consideration if I'm emotionally going through something. It's just get it done, you know? So most of my interactions growing up were very disciplinary, in which it didn't put or give me a space to express what I was feeling. So later on, like around now, as an adult, I had to put in a lot of work to understand how my emotions, like what my emotions mean and how to express that clearly to people. With that being said, I do experience a lot of anxiety from the thought of telling, not everyone, but certain people I do experience anxiety from the thought of even opening up to them, because I am afraid I'm going to get yelled at. I do have that anxiety, like that anxiety still lives with me from when I was younger. And it's one of those things where it's like I get more clarity on these things like as I go on. It's like in the beginning of the year, I spent more time trying to understand my emotions. Then it's like halfway through the year, I got better at expressing my emotions. And like now, towards like the end of the year, I'm starting to get a better grasp of why I had such difficulty communicating my emotions and why I couldn't do anything. Like I didn't understand, you know? And when I say that, I don't mean that I never once expressed to any of my friends or family or anybody how I felt. I definitely did. It's just, I think the way that I reacted a lot. I think that in the past I spent a lot of time dwelling in my emotions to justify them in the first place. And I spent a lot of time just being in a state and not really knowing how to solve it. Like, I remember when I was younger, if I was mad, I just wouldn't talk to anybody for days, because I felt like my emotions weren't valid if it didn't last for days. So I would just give everybody the cold shoulder. Or if I was sad, I would kind of just like, it sucks saying this, but it's like I would kind of just cry in my corner of my room, and I wouldn't really say anything to anybody. I wouldn't say anything because I didn't think anybody cared. and I didn't think that there was a space for me to even express my emotions. And it's crazy because like now I'm kind of like having an emotional reaction to saying that out loud, because I literally just didn't I literally just noticed that, and I didn't really think about that until this moment. But now as an adult, I realize that the people I surround myself with definitely play, the people anybody surrounds themselves with plays a very big part in someone's ability to progress forward to the person they want to be. I think everybody that comes into our life can teach us something about ourselves, even the people that unfortunately hurt us in any way. They teach us about the things that we don't like. They teach us the things to stay away from that can hurt us. They teach us I don't even know. It's like so difficult to think about because obviously there's so many different levels of trauma, emotionally, mental, spiritual, and it's very difficult for me to compact that into a this is what this can teach us statement. But I feel like the best way I can say it is yin and yang, the good and the bad come up together, and there's always something in the darkness that helps us perceive the light. So I feel like I'm at a point now in my life where I just want to surround myself with more people that help me move forward, because I feel like a lot of the interactions I've had have made me feel better in the space that I'm at. And have also in turn made me more comfortable with just being there and not doing much to get out of it. I want so much better for myself in life. I want to do so much more than I've done so far in life. And I can't do that if I keep doing the same thing. It's like you can't create or do the same daily routine and expect something different unless you're working towards getting better at something. It's like I can work on anatomy and figure drawings every day. That'll help me get better at understanding anatomy. But I can't wake up every day at noon and complain about how many hours are in the day and do that for a year expecting something different. You know, like there are different things where it's like you need to adjust your daily routine to get something different out of your day. So I know for a fact, like I need people right now in my life who help me move forward, who help me feel seen, heard, understood, who help support me in the space or the person I want to become. I had an interaction with a friend the other day, and she was pretty much asking me if I was open to doing a photo shoot with her, and I was like, yes, hell yes, goddess, let's do this, right? And as much as I wanted to do it, I knew that I couldn't do it anytime soon because of the way things are playing out in my life right now. It's just not realistic for me to do it anytime soon. And I had this moment within myself where I felt so much guilt having to express that to her because I felt like something bad. I'm trying to really figure out what I felt in that moment. I felt bad. I don't think that I felt like something bad was going to happen. I just felt like I was potentially letting somebody down, and that because I was letting somebody down, I would be responsible for that person experiencing a negative emotion, if that makes sense. Like I just felt a lot of emotional weight in my answer. And I had to remind myself that, first of all, it's okay for people to not always be okay. And I'll get into that a little bit later. And second of all, what I noticed was the reason I was feeling that is because a lot of my interactions growing up negated my own emotions. It's like I always had to respond or respect the other person's side of how they felt and what was expected from me because of what they felt, that I feel fear whenever I express my emotions. I feel fear and anxiety when I express my emotions, and I feel like something bad will come of it. So I had to remind myself that that is not true. Like, I had to mentally check myself and be like, whoa, 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 like, why are you feeling this right now? Because your friend never put you in a situation in which you felt that. Like, this is past trauma coming up, and it's affecting your ability to clearly communicate how you feel. I was able to kind of have that reflective moment and respond to her as clearly as possible, why I couldn't do the photo shoot anytime soon. And I did find myself feeling a lot of pressure for the rest of the day to be able to follow through with what we planned, kind of like a generalized plan of what we'll do in the future. But it was crazy to me because it's one of those things where it's just like, sometimes you really, like, if you're not aware of your subconscious thoughts because they're subconscious, you kind of don't realize how much your past interactions with people affect your current day interactions. And if you don't unlearn that trauma and unlearn those unhealthy behaviors, you kind of get into this habit of recreating these cycles and interactions with others, and you're kind of like, why does this always happen to me? But sometimes it's like the internal work that has to be done to be able to get to a better space externally, you know? And after I had that moment and navigated through my emotions and what I was feeling and allowing myself to feel that, I need to surround myself with more people who don't make me feel like expressing my emotions are a bad thing, or expressing my emotions are going to result in me being disciplined. Like, it's so crazy to me that, like, I'm realizing that now, because I think a lot of my interactions with people when it comes to expressing my emotions, or maybe like how to describe it? Obviously, like, I still have interactions with people from when I was younger that affect my ability to see clearly what I deserve, because they're people who I interact with in like my daily life, you know, like their family and stuff. So I don't even know how to describe this. It's like, sometimes it's not even that they're doing something that is hurting me. It's just the way they talk is still them. I don't know if this is making sense. It's like, let's say if somebody did something that's traumatic to you when you were younger, in terms of like the way they spoke to you, that tone becomes a trigger for the emotion you felt when you were younger. So even if they're talking to you when you're older, and they're not talking to you about something that is specifically involving you, or something that, I don't know, like involving you, whatever, when they use that tone, it still triggers that trauma from when you were younger. So even though I'm still interacting with those people and they're not doing anything to hurt me, the tone still triggers the trauma that I have from when I was younger. And because of that, I can still have daily interactions with them, but my trauma is still there. It's still present. I haven't unlearned it, healed from it, and worked from it. So because I have so many of those daily interactions, the smaller interactions or the fewer interactions I have with other people who don't trigger that trauma, I still feel that trauma being triggered a bit because of the interactions that are still going on more consistently in my life. I hope that makes sense. So I'm still learning to surround myself with the people who help me get better at where I want to be and accept me for who I'm becoming. I know earlier I said I was going to touch on accepting that people aren't okay, you know? So this is another thing that I think is definitely related to the way I was raised, to kind of just like get it done. Don't really think about your emotions. Don't think about how you feel. Like, just get it done. If you get told to do a chore, fucking do it, right? So I think that that has affected my ability to feel like when, and also I'm already like a solution oriented person, and I don't like to see my friends or family or anybody in general not okay. So I do feel a lot of a weight to help others if they're not okay. And when I say not okay, I mean like when a friend is having a bad day, or when a family member, I don't know, needs somebody to talk to. I do feel like once somebody expresses that to me and they tell me that they need me, I feel like it is my job to make sure that after that interaction, they're okay. And now I'm realizing that's not true. I think that there are moments where we feel like reaching out, when somebody reaches out and they're in a state like that, it's because they don't want to be in that state anymore. And it's because they're looking to you to solve it. I think that is mostly like where I or most people think. But I think, and I've become more conscious of the fact that there are moments when I'm not okay and I just want to be heard. In that moment, I'm not looking for a solution. I'm not looking for somebody to tell me what I can do to get out of the emotional mood I'm in. I'm just looking for somebody to listen and understand me and just be heard, you know? And then I think there are other moments when, from the receiving, how do I word this? I think there are other moments from the other side when you're the person who is with the other person who is not in a good state. I think that sometimes there comes a pressure to feel like you have to solve their issues, and I think that there's so much healing energy in just being with someone, even if you're not saying a word, just being there with someone, holding them, helping them in whatever way you can that's realistic. And when I say that, I mean like, I don't know, I bought you cookies, fam, or let's listen to this song because we know it makes us happy, or hey, do you want to go to the park? Like, whatever is most realistic for you, you know? I think that those moments matter for sure, but even when you do those things, it doesn't mean that you're bad at helping somebody if you did not get them out of the emotional state that they're in. I definitely feel a pressure to solve people's issues. I feel a pressure to be the person that puts a smile on somebody's face again and is the reason why they're happy, but that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work because I have my own issues, I have my own problems, and we all do. And for me to put myself in a position to feel like I always have to do that for every person that is not in an okay state, like, that's unhealthy. That's very unhealthy for me, and I think that also leads to kind of putting oneself in a position of feeling like you're bad at doing something if you can't accomplish that goal or meet that goal of helping somebody who's not okay. Like, emotions are there for us to feel it, experience it, give ourselves enough time to navigate through it. So to feel like if you don't get somebody out of an emotional state, that you're a failure at being there for somebody, like, that's not true. Like, that's not accurate. That's very unhealthy for you and the person who's going through it, because the person who's going through it needs to go through it. It's part of their journey. And for you, it's like you have your own life. Like, give whatever support you can that's realistic for what you're going through in life, but don't feel like if you leave an interaction with somebody and they're not happy, you failed, you know? That's not true. And I'm still working on getting better at emotionally expressing myself. I think there was a point where, like recently, since I've learned how to express myself, where I felt like, and I think it's also kind of ego driven from when I was younger, feeling like the second something happens, it has to be addressed right then and there, or else it's going to happen again. Like, I feel like there was that pressure to do it right now, or else it's going to happen again. And now I realize that it's okay to wait until you're in a stable or a clearer mindset to express or address something that's happened with somebody that has hurt you, because when you're in that state, or when I'm in that state, I know it's very difficult for me to express myself clearly without creating more stress or anxiety or a bigger altercation from what's happened. Versus if I really think it through and I give myself enough time to process what I'm going through, then I'm able to come back to that person later and be like, hey, this is what happened, this is how it made me feel, and this is how I want to move forward from this. Another thing that I've learned recently is like how important it is to use I statements, because when you use an I statement, like you say, I feel this, or I want this, it makes it very clear to the other person what you're experiencing, what made you experience that, and kind of what you want or what you need from the situation. I think it's very, I don't know, it can definitely make a situation worse if you're like, you did this and it hurt me. You are the reason why this and the other, as opposed to, I feel like when this happens, it makes me feel this way. You know, it's like I feel like the second you start pointing fingers and saying you, it's like you're just adding to that anger that you already have. Versus if you say I, you're kind of setting a space to be like, you know what, like, let me be as clear as possible. Let me think in a very solution oriented way what I want out of this situation, and let me figure out like the best way to communicate this to whoever you may be speaking to, the solution that can be applied. I think it's also very important in those moments of when you do that with somebody to also give the other person space to say what they're experiencing, because I think there are moments where people hurt us and we're just like, what the hell? Like, why did you hurt me? Why would you do that to me? I expected different from you. Why? You know? And I think that if we jump into a situation, we just point fingers, it makes it very difficult for the other person to even get to a space to want to express what they were going through, why they did what they did. And sometimes other people just don't know. Like, I think that's the biggest thing I'm realizing lately. It's like some people literally just aren't in a space where they know how to express their emotions. Some people are so caught up in feeling and being overstimulated, possibly from what's going on, that they can't even express to you what they're feeling. I know there are moments when, like in the past, like years ago, when I used to hang out with my friends back to back, I definitely felt overstimulated to the point that it's like I felt like I was losing track of time. I felt like I had no grasp on reality, because it's like I would get up, I would hang out with them for the majority of the day, then I'd go home, I'd go to sleep, then I'd get up and I'd hang out with them the majority of the day, and doing that over and over again, it feels like time is just passing by. It feels like I don't have a moment to pause and think about how I feel, and it gives me anxiety. I start feeling like, I don't know, like overwhelmed. And it's possible that when other people feel that, they can't express how they feel. Those are the moments where you really gotta ask yourself, are you willing to be patient with somebody who's still understanding how they feel? And when I say patient, I mean like it could take them a couple years. It can take them months. It could take them a very long time, because like I said, sometimes they just do whatever they're doing in routine. Like they're doing other things, like their job, the people that they take care of on a daily basis, the people they interact with. Sometimes people are so overstimulated by everything that they're doing that they don't know, or they haven't yet put themselves in a space to learn how to better express themselves. So you got to ask yourself, are you willing to be patient with this person? Are you willing to understand that this is just the space they're in right now, and we don't know if they're ever going to leave this space, but it's like, is this a friendship or relationship or whatever it may be that you're willing to continue to nurture with the state that it's in? Like, it's so important to realize that, or at least for me, the most important thing for me that I realized recently is that accepting somebody for who they are does not come at the expense of my mental health, my spiritual health, my physical health, whatever it may be. Accepting somebody for who they are does not mean that I have to put myself in a space that I don't want to be in anymore. I can accept somebody for who they are. I can accept somebody for whatever traits that they have, but that shouldn't mean that I get hurt during every interaction or damn near every interaction that we have. You know, like, that is draining, and I deserve better. Everybody deserves better. Like, why would I expose myself to that? You know, why would I continue to put myself in situations where people hurt me and I'm like, oh, you know, that's just who they are, I'll get over it? It's like, no, I deserve so much better. And it's like, this is something I'm also realizing with when it comes to how positive I am. Even, like, I will this is something I have to say for probably every positive person out there, or whoever it may be in your life who is a positive light and looks like the person who's not going through anything. Every person on this earth deserves and needs somebody to root for them. Everybody. I don't care how positive somebody is. Understand that everyone is going through something. Everybody deserves someone to cheer for them. Everybody needs somebody who supports them, who sees how hard they work, who sees everything that they're doing. Everyone deserves somebody who roots for them. Everyone. And it's crazy because I can definitely say that I've been the positive person, you know? And I love helping people, but it wasn't until recently when people started cheering for me that I realized how much I appreciated that I realized how much I need that. Because I do. I experience doubt. I literally just cry on my bed sometimes because I don't know why I have so much faith, because there's no physical proof of the things that I want to happen going to happen. I just keep working and working and working, hoping to God that it will result in something. And the moments that people cheer for me and I feel the love and they express to me in whatever way is most realistic to them, like, hey, I appreciate that you do this, or hey, I like that you do this, or even something simple as like little things like a share, anything, you know, anything. Like, I don't want to say this specifically as like, hey, if you haven't liked or shared my stuff, like, I don't think you're supporting me. Like, I don't mean that. It's like, in whatever way is realistic to you, even if it's watching my story on Instagram for a day, whatever it is, in any way that somebody shows support, I appreciate it and I love it. And I love when people acknowledge what I do, because sometimes I don't know how much I do, because I'm constantly putting in so much effort that when somebody says, oh my gosh, like, you did so much to get to this point, it's like I don't really realize that, because that's my normal mode. That's me always doing that. So when somebody says, oh my god, like, look at how much research you put into putting together this video, or look at how much work or hours you put into working on this drawing, it's like moments like that kind of help me pause and help me realize how much I've accomplished. So having people cheer for you is so important and so necessary. And everybody deserves and needs somebody who cheers for them, who roots for them, who tells them how good they are at whatever they're doing, who encourages them. Like, it's so important. So it's like, even that person that always brightens up your day, or that person who always puts in the effort to do whatever, if it's within your realistic life, whatever, I don't even know how to word it. If it's realistic for you to show that back, if you feel drawn to them as much as they may feel drawn to you, if you feel that you're in a space where you can express to them how much you appreciate them, do that, because you never know if the day that you decided to check on them is the day that they were hurting the most, but felt guilty expressing that to you, and you help them, you know? Anyway, that's it for today's video. I'm gonna finish eating my food off camera because talking and eating, it's very difficult to talk and eat and shoot. Like, it's a lot of work. But anyway, I'm gonna eat my food off camera. Bless up, and until next time, sending out much peace, love, and enlightenment. Bye, guys.